I'm gonna do is go into something I never actually do, which is, hold on, I'm just gonna continue adjusting it. Okay, I think that's a good angle, but yeah, I just did something I typically never do, which is like make a video of this kind and actually like view it once it's YouTube is done uploading the video and doing the compression stuff. So yeah, I was the other reason I brought up more than once that I actually have a flight that's it's at 9 o'clock in the morning. It's 1:23, and yeah, a perfectly valid reason why, like, despite just like whatever bullshit I was mumbling in my last video. I used that word particularly because of a comment, but I don't want to dwell more into that. But I was thinking, shit, like, I got at least, I'm guessing 4 hours from math, yeah, because the bus starts running again at like 5 something, and right now it's close to 1:30. So I got 4 hours until the bus starts running back to the airport. The whole reason why like I'm fucking out here is I went into actually like human interaction, and I like said some stuff that I would normally not take back, but what I said before is that if I was looking for human interaction or within the context of tonight, I would go to a strip club. And maybe that's something that it's one thing to have a train of thought, and it's actually another thing to actually hear yourself say that within the context of what it makes you sound like. But not to deviate into that tangent. So the reason, like, I got off the gate, and you're at an airport, and you want something to eat that's not cold, like actually cooked. You're going to spend like close to $10 between like the meal itself and a drink. And in my mind, I just saw something unexpected, or at least heard something unexpected right there. But yeah, I was going into like mealtime, or at least dinner time. So if you're hungry and you're at the airport, I mean, basically, the only airport I went to, I mean, I've been to more than one airport, but I particularly remember, I believe it was Houston. Yeah, I only remember it as Houston because the fact that it was, named like Bush, the airport was named after one of the Bushes, George Bush, I mean. So, yeah, and there was like, some sort of dollar menu, and there was a sign that indicated that the prices at, the fast food restaurants in the airport would not be any more expensive than any local mall in Houston. So yeah, even though like the dollar menu was like $1 and change, I've never been to an airport that had anything like remotely close to a dollar menu. Yeah, I'm down here because I decided, okay, I can either go to Burger King and spend close to $10 on a meal, or something like 8 if I get the Whopper Junior meal, or I can like go on a bus and pay some money and actually get a couple of things off the dollar menu and not break $5, which is exactly what I did. So yeah, I was here before in Charlotte, and not the same option, whether I was going to leave the airport and go downtown. And I mean, as much as I regret not doing it before, it's actually, it was a lot cooler. It wasn't really springtime weather. I mean, it was a chill, but you could still, like, right now I'm in a t-shirt. If I had a jacket, like, I would have been fine back then. We're talking, shit, I've been commuting back and forth between New York and Florida, or at least New York and Gainesville for, I've done this trip at least 4 or 5 times. So where was I? So yeah, that's why I'm downtown, and I forgot why I was talking about food, but I remember I was talking about the actual time frame and the reality of my situation. And the conclusion that I came to is if I can comfortably like kill time just talking with my imaginary friend. And when I say imaginary friend, I mean like my webcam that's like connected to a Wi-Fi signal that's enables me to upload something on YouTube. Then fuck it. Like the last thing I want to do is really be in a state of mind where I can just compare it. I can compare it to a lot of things, but the first thing that came to mind, or the easiest comparison, is you're on a flight from New York to California, and then you're on another 5-hour flight from California to Hawaii, and you're just staring at the back of your seat, and basically you're wondering when the fuck this flight is going to end. So I've been that way before, and looking at it from a hindsight point of view, it may have been better to get to the back of the plane and just stand up and stretch my legs and not really be in the same seated position, while my mind is like dreading long. It wasn't even a transatlantic flight. It was I guess coast to coast. Yeah, dude, like I don't even have like tailor-mades. Like what I have is what you roll. It's the rolling kind. Yeah, it's just like the top Spiegler. Yeah, yes. I mean, I actually meant to buy a pack, but I'm trying to figure out where is the cheapest place. I know I passed by like Walgreens, CVS, but whenever I leave New York, I'm conscious about because in Florida it's a little more expensive than here. But yeah, I wish I could help you out as far as like that tailor-made. Alright, I'm back. I know I was talking about staring at the back of a seat, wondering when the coast-to-coast flight's going to be over, or at least something that's like not to talk about flights, but the flight between New York and Florida, New York and the Caribbean. That's it's something that's along the lines of like 3 hours, or 3 hours and change. That's sort of like my comfort level. Anything that's like 5 hours and I know this tangent is something. I'll get back to my main point, or maybe I'm not based on my track record. Probably not. But anyway, since I seem to be talking about flights and killing time, which was what I was originally getting into, I was really interested to see how I was going to do with like the transatlantic flight from New York to I believe I was in Brussels, or it was a direct flight between New York and Brussels, and it's about an 8-hour flight, but off the top of my head it wasn't going to be like a flight between New York and California. Or to go off on another tangent, I remember when I first started flying, and this is going back to the late 80s, and I remember taking flights to, for example, Texas or, Disney World, and I remember like being seated, like you would think you would have memories sitting in first class, but I'm pretty sure I was in coach. I remember being in coach as a kid and actually like getting a hot meal to eat, and I'm pretty sure like it wasn't something like that my mom paid extra for. I'm pretty sure whoever wasn't eating on the flight was people who didn't want whatever food was being served, or maybe they didn't have a vegetarian option. So yeah, fast forward now, I mean, you're fucking lucky if you get a drink. I say a drink because I was on the only way I was able to get a free drink between New York and Stockholm was because there were some issues with the flight being delayed for 5 hours, and there was some stuff on top of that, and including a stop in Iceland for a crew change based on like overtime regulations. So yeah, that was the only way everyone was treated to like a a warm beverage or a cold one. I kind of, you know, wish I would be in a flight where there was free alcohol. But speaking of free alcohol, so going back to my first transatlantic flight, I've heard about this from my parents, but I knew there was, well, I don't know whether I knew there was going to be a meal, because I didn't really do my research. I certainly didn't prepare for a meal. But what it surprised me even more was, I had a choice of wine, which, I mean, right now, I used to be a cran apple sort of guy whenever I'm flying and ask me what I want to drink. But now it's, okay, I'll tell the truth only because of that pause. The reason I'm more of a coffee person now is because you can't buy coffee on food stamps. And that's something that sounded even worse than that strip club comment that I made in the last video. Or in the sense of putting my business out there, which it hasn't been the first time. But for those who don't know, you can't buy hot food or hot drinks on food stamps. And cran apple, I mean, unless I'm really trying to go to sleep, I'll forgo the coffee, the caffeine, and then choose something that wouldn't, keep me up. So what was I getting into? Oh yeah, the only downside with the wine is, it might be in your best interest not to select a seat. I mean, if they're not charging you, for a seat, then, by all means, if you're trying to get your unlimited wine on, then it might not make sense to be in a window seat or a middle seat or any seat where you have to ask someone or more than one person to get up for you to use the bathroom because you've been drinking too much. So okay, I went into oh yeah, speaking of Norwegian Airlines, that wasn't Norwegian where I got the free wine. It was actually US Airways, and but Norwegian has it so that basically you could pay $42. I'm just pausing 1 second for this bus, but yeah, I can talk over it as well. You could pay $42 to get the grand treatment. When I say grand treatment, I mean you can get drinks, you can get a hot meal, you can get a cold meal to go, you can I don't know whatever else they throw in a package, but basically I mean not to say that if you didn't prepay, I mean your option, if you didn't prepay, your options are basically limited to anything that's cold. I mean, I'm sure you can get a coffee for $4 or $5. I know I got a salmon salad that was $15, and I paid $4 for a 7-Up, and it was highway robbery. It was good, but in a sense, I mean, if I was on a flight and water was $4, that was the cheapest thing you could buy, along with other sodas. If I was on a flight and if I was thirsty and I already researched, or not researched myself, but watch Oprah and saw how dirty ice is on airlines, what's going to compel me to drink the water that's I'm going to pick this up in a second. I was waiting for someone to pass by. So yeah, what I was getting at was, not drinking water from the faucet at when you're on a plane. There's somebody just walking by with a phone that, sounded a little louder than me. I'm only sounding louder because I actually want people to hear what I'm saying as opposed to mumbling. And I'm not gonna do this, but I told myself I'm gonna keep track of how many times I mentioned that word, considering that one reaction. I got one other comment on the YouTube video where it was actually referring to my shirt and nothing containing anything that I had to say. Unlike the last comment. So yeah, I was getting into just it's not even, I'm talking about water and airlines, and the fact that you have to pay for water is just really like Spirit Airlines. I mean, this airline prides itself in being no frills. You know, instead of 50 pounds, like they limited the weight to 40 pounds, and there's not even a first class. It's just like everything is coach, and you know, which doesn't bother me. What does bother me is like even border is just like, you know, I mean, I'm guessing it's less than $4, but still paying for water is just like, you know, paying to use the bathroom, which is an idea that I'm not making this up. Some airline made that proposition, and I'm guessing, yeah, I could see that causing more problems, like, you know, in the sky than, you know, solving, you know, as far as, you know, their financial, you know, like goals, you know, fiscal, you know, anything, you know, relating with money and making it. So, okay, yeah, this video initially started off with, you know, killing time because I gotta wait 4 hours for the first bus to take me back to the airport. I gotta, my flight is, what time is it right now? My flight's 7 hours away, so, yeah, I mean, what better way to kill time than to actually, you know, open yourself up to criticism. And with that, I probably will make another video as opposed to the trip I was on before. But with that said, when I start that next video, I'll start it with my thoughts collected. But until those thoughts are collected, I'm just going to do what I do best and then just sign off.